The rain hammered against the windows of our Seattle home, mirroring the storm raging inside me. For 20 years, this house had been my sanctuary, a testament to the life I'd built with Isolde. Now it felt like a gilded cage, each room echoing with the ghosts of lies. I'm Bastian, and until a week ago I was a content IT specialist, happily married to a woman I adored. We weren't perfect, but who is? We had our routines, our inside jokes, our shared dreams of a quiet retirement spent traveling the world. I was 46 years old and I thought I knew my life. I was wrong. It started subtly. Isolde, usually so open and communicative, became distant. She'd always been meticulous about her appearance, but lately there was a new intensity, a frantic energy as if she were trying to impress someone. She'd spend hours on her phone, giggling and whispering, turning away when I entered the room. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd brush it off with a vague, "Just a friend from work, dear." Her work, that was another red flag. Isolde worked as a marketing director for a tech company downtown. The long hours were nothing new, but the sudden business trips were. She'd always hated traveling, preferring the comfort of our home. Now she was jetting off to conferences and client meetings in cities I'd never heard of. Each time she'd return with a forced smile and a flimsy excuse for why she couldn't call. My gut churned with a feeling I couldn't ignore. Something was terribly wrong, but I didn't want to believe it. I loved Isolde. I trusted her. I couldn't imagine her betraying me. But the doubts persisted, gnawing at my peace of mind. Then came the night that shattered everything. Isolde was supposedly on a business trip to Portland. I was home alone, trying to distract myself with a movie when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Hesitantly, I answered. "Hello," a woman's voice, thick with tears, crackled through the speaker. "Is this Bastian Mayer?" "Yes, who is this?" I asked, my heart pounding in my chest. "My name is Freya," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't know how to say this, but I think you need to know about your wife." Freya proceeded to tell me a story that ripped my world apart. She was the wife of a man named Alaric, who worked with Isolde. Apparently, Isolde and Alaric had been having an affair for months. Freya had discovered their secret through a series of incriminating text messages and emails. She had photos, dates, locations, a meticulous record of their betrayal. She was calling me, she explained, because she couldn't bear to keep it a secret any longer. She knew what it was like to be lied to be kept in the dark, and she didn't want me to suffer the same fate. I listened in stunned silence, the phone clutched tightly in my hand. Each word was a hammer blow, shattering the illusion of my perfect life. By the time Freya finished, I was numb. I thanked her, my voice barely a whisper, and hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring blankly at the television screen, the movie forgotten. My mind raced, trying to process what I had just heard. Isolde cheating on me. It seemed impossible, a cruel joke, but Freya's story was too detailed, too convincing to dismiss. I pulled up Isolde's work calendar on my computer. Sure enough, there it was, business trip Portland. I cross-referenced the dates with the information Freya had provided. They matched perfectly. The realization hit me like a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. My wife, the woman I loved and trusted, had been lying to me for months, betraying me with another man. The pain was unbearable, a searing agony that ripped through my heart and soul. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, pacing the floor, replaying memories in my head, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. How could I have been so blind? How could I have not seen what was happening right under my nose? As dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of gray and pink, I made a decision. I couldn't stay here in this house filled with lies. I needed to confront Isolde, to hear the truth from her own lips. But I also needed to protect myself, to gather evidence, to prepare for the inevitable fallout. I called a lawyer, a friend from college named Leif, and explained the situation. He advised me to document everything, to avoid any rash decisions, and to prepare for a long and difficult legal battle. I took his advice to heart. When Isolde returned from Portland 2 days later, she was her usual self, cheerful, affectionate, and full of stories about her successful business trip. I watched her, my heart aching with a mixture of love and disgust. How could she be so normal, so carefree after what she had done? I forced myself to act calm, to play along, to pretend that everything was fine. I knew I couldn't confront her without proof, without a plan. I needed to be smart, to be strategic. That evening, as Isolde slept soundly beside me, I quietly got out of bed and went to her laptop. I knew her password, her anniversary date, and I quickly gained access to her email account. There it was, a folder labeled Alaric. I opened it and began to read. The emails were explicit, filled with declarations of love, promises of a future together, and details of their secret rendezvous. I scrolled through the messages, my stomach churning with each word. They had planned romantic getaways, exchanged intimate photos, and even discussed leaving their spouses to be together. The evidence was irrefutable. Isolde was not just having an affair, she was in love with another man. The next morning I confronted her. I waited until after breakfast when we were alone in the living room. I took a deep breath and said, "Isolde, we need to talk." She looked at me, her eyes wide with apprehension. "What is it, Bastian? You seem different." "I know about Alaric," I said, my voice flat. Her face paled. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "I know about the emails, the trips, the lies," I continued, my voice rising with anger. "I know everything." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Bastian, I don't," I interrupted, holding up my hand. "Don't insult my intelligence with any more lies, just tell me the truth. How long has this been going on?" She hesitated for a moment, then said, 6 months. 6 months, I repeated, my voice incredulous. 6 months of lies, of deceit, of betrayal. How could you do this to me, Isolde? How could you do this to us?" She began to sob, her body shaking with emotion. "I'm so sorry, Bastian," she said, her voice choked with tears. "I never meant for this to happen, it just happened." "It just happened," I scoffed. "You planned romantic getaways, exchanged intimate emails, and discussed leaving me for him. That doesn't just happen, Isolde, that's a conscious choice." I know," she cried. "I was weak. I was unhappy. I felt neglected." "Neglected," I repeated, my anger reaching a boiling point. "I worked my ass off to provide for you, to give you everything you wanted. How dare you accuse me of neglecting you?" "It wasn't about money, Bastian," she said. "It was about connection. I felt like we were drifting apart. You were always working, always busy. I felt alone. So instead of talking to me, instead of trying to fix our problems, you decided to cheat on me," I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Is that your solution to everything?" She didn't answer. She just sat there sobbing, her face buried in her hands. I turned and walked away, unable to look at her any longer. The pain was too intense, the betrayal too deep. I went upstairs and began to pack my things. I couldn't stay in this house, not for another minute. I needed to get away, to clear my head, to figure out what to do next. As I packed, Isolde came into the room. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "I'm leaving," I said, not looking at her. "I can't be here right now, I need space." "Please, Bastian, don't go," she begged. "Let's talk about this, let's try to work things out." "There's nothing to talk about, Isolde," I said. "You've made your choice, you've destroyed our marriage, there's no going back." I finished packing and walked out of the house, leaving Isolde standing there, alone and defeated. I moved into a small apartment downtown, a temporary solution while I figured out my next step. I spent the next few weeks in a fog, going through the motions of life but feeling nothing. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't concentrate on work. I was consumed by anger, sadness, and a deep sense of loss. I had lost my wife, my best friend, my soulmate. Or at least, that's what I thought she was. Leif, my lawyer, took care of the legal proceedings. He filed for divorce, gathered evidence of Isolde's affair, and prepared for a contentious battle over assets and property. Isolde predictably tried to paint me as the villain, claiming that I was emotionally abusive, that I had neglected her, that she had no choice but to seek comfort in another man's arms. But Leif was prepared. He presented the emails, the phone records, the eyewitness accounts, and effectively destroyed her defense. The judge ruled in my favor, granting me a generous settlement and full custody of our dog, Winston, a golden retriever who had been my loyal companion for the past 10 years. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I learned more about Alaric. He was a senior executive at Isolde's company, a married man with 2 children. He was charming, charismatic, and incredibly wealthy. He had seduced Isolde with promises of a lavish lifestyle, exotic vacations, and a life of luxury. But as the truth about their affair came to light, Alaric's life began to unravel. His wife, Freya, filed for divorce, exposing his infidelity to his colleagues and friends. He was ostracized from his social circle, lost his job, and faced a mountain of legal bills. His reputation was ruined, his career destroyed, and his family torn apart. Karma, it seemed, had a way of catching up with those who deserved it. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a call from Isolde. I hesitated before answering, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello," I said, my voice cold. "Bastian, it's me," she said, her voice trembling. I need your help." "My help," I repeated, incredulous. "After everything you've done, you expect me to help you." "I know I don't deserve it," she said, "but I have nowhere else to turn." She went on to explain that Alaric had dumped her. Once his divorce was finalized and he had lost his job, he no longer had any use for her. He had moved to another city, leaving Isolde alone and penniless. She had lost her job, her friends, and her reputation. She was living in a cheap motel, struggling to make ends meet. "I made a mistake, Bastian," she said, sobbing. "A terrible mistake. I ruined everything." I listened in silence, my heart unmoved by her tears. I felt no sympathy for her, no pity, no forgiveness. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. "I can't help you, Isolde," I said, my voice firm. "You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of closure I hadn't felt in months. I had finally moved on. I had survived the betrayal, the heartbreak, and the lies. I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient. I had learned a valuable lesson about trust, love, and the importance of knowing your own worth. A few years have passed since then. I sold our house in Seattle and moved to a small town in Oregon, where I bought a cozy cabin in the woods. I spend my days hiking, reading, and volunteering at a local animal shelter. Winston is still my faithful companion, always by my side. I've even started dating again, cautiously optimistic about the future. I don't know what lies ahead, but I'm ready for it. I'm no longer defined by my past. I'm free to create my own destiny. Isolde, I heard through mutual acquaintances, never recovered. She bounced from job to job, relationship to relationship, always searching for something she could never find. She became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the devastating consequences of betrayal and deceit. I don't hate her. I don't even think about her very often. She's just a ghost from my past, a painful memory that has faded with time. My life is different now, simpler, quieter, and more authentic. I've learned to appreciate the small things, the beauty of nature, the love of friends, and the companionship of my loyal dog. I've learned that life is too short to waste on anger, bitterness, and regret. It's time to move on, to forgive, and to embrace the future with open arms. The rain has stopped now. The sun is shining, casting a golden glow over the forest. I take a deep breath, filling my lungs with the fresh, clean air. I'm Bastian Mayer, and I'm finally free.